Good afternoon. Welcome to Real Talk with Mary Grace. It's Monday, the 22nd of March, 2021, and it is officially spring. So, welcome. Come on in. Good to see everybody. Got a good show planned today. As you're coming in, please be sure and share this into wherever you can. If you're on Facebook, definitely share it into groups that you belong to. And if you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. What else? Thumbs up, subscribe, and then also share it with people that you follow. And then also make sure that you turn on the bell, hit the bell, and so you don't miss a show. And I'm live on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 5:30 Eastern. So please don't miss it. Be here, and I will be broadcasting for you 5:30 Eastern. Right now we're on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and CloutHub channel 111. And I've been thinking about going live on Instagram more. I know most of you aren't there, but that's crossed my mind. So I might be doing that. I might be focusing more on some different topics over there. We'll see. Just have to find time in my day. I'm also on Telegram, and that is Mary Grace Media Official. So please follow me over there, join that channel. It's very interesting. I post things of interest over there that I used to share on Twitter. And there is a private chat. You have to get an invitation to that. So just make sure you can write to me to get that invitation. It's info@marygracemedia.com. Some of you have been able to find me on Telegram and then send me a message over there. So just see what you can do. You do have to have Telegram installed on your device before you open open the rooms. So if you run into trouble by clicking a link and you're not already on Telegram, you're going to get like an error message. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you about Telegram right now. um, but thank you for being here. Thanks everybody for watching. I have no idea how many people are watching because I don't have a counter right now. I just know that I'm live. So good to see everybody. Thank you for being here on YouTube, Facebook, Clout Hub, Periscope. I guess we only have about a week left on Periscope, and then at some point I might be broadcasting live on Twitter. But the president is launching his own social media platform, and so I think I think Twitter's days might be numbered unless they can get their act together. I think that it's pretty clear. I don't know if you all have noticed that the ratings for everybody have gone down since President Trump is not in the White House. But the funniest thing is that they're still obsessed with him. It's just so funny. I mean, they literally have a guy that's supposed to be their president, their resident in chief, and they're obsessed with President Trump. I mean, he's in their heads 24/7. So what can you do? You know? And I know. So the president is going to launch his own channel. He talked about that over the weekend, and he actually made some media appearances in the past or today. I think the first one was recorded, but he was on Fox. He was on Harris Faulkner show. And hi, Susan from Orange, Virginia. Yeah, so he was on Harris Faulkner, and then he was on a podcast and I wasn't familiar with the woman who did the podcast. I guess she's a reporter somewhere, maybe in Florida. But it was her first episode, and she landed the president. So where do you go from there if the president is your first interview on your podcast? How funny is that? So so just kind of interesting. But let me just find that podcast because I think that let me see what we got here. My messages today, I've lost track. Okay, here we go. Um, so her name is It's The Truth with Lisa Booth, Boothe, on Apple Podcast. Yeah. So, yeah, it was really good. Um, she did the podcast with him, and then he did an interview with Harris Faulkner. So I turned on the TV and actually recorded. I recorded that episode of the president with Harris Faulkner on Fox. Honestly, it's probably the first time that I have. It's probably the first time I've turned on any news since the election, to be honest. Okay, Lisa Booth is a longtime Fox contributor. Okay, good to know. Yeah, I've never been a big news watcher, to be honest. But we do still have Netflix because of my dad, and he watches all kinds of different stuff. But the other night I watched a travel show with him. Have you guys ever heard of that show, Feeding Phil? It's a guy that travels around the world, I guess, eating different cuisine. It's pretty good. It's pretty benign, so that's good. But you get kind of hungry watching it unless they're eating weird stuff, and then you're not. But anyway, so it was a good interview. The funniest thing about the interview with Harris Faulkner was thanks so much, Mr. President, for calling. And he goes, actually, it was you guys who called me. Did anybody catch that? It was so funny. He's so funny. I just, don't you miss him? I really miss him. And I do believe that he's coming back. So I think we're in the stage that we're in right now is that uh, we're in the waking up, the normie phase. And so I'll talk a little bit about what he shared. Yeah, Harris was definitely glad to talk to the president because she said, we don't have any news coming out of the Biden White House, and we're trying to get news, especially about the border. But she said, as the former president, you do have access to information. So what can you share with us? And so he went down the list of everything that this current faux administration is doing to destroy America, and it's not pretty. I think, however, that is part of his strategy right now, because unfortunately, people have to feel the pain. They have to see for themselves and experience what's going on. And the situation on the border is really bad. I think that you would have to be just absolutely blind not to see what's going on. There's no way that there's no way that anybody who even has one eyeball open and, two brain cells connecting could look at the situation and say, "Oh yeah, this person is better for America than Trump was." I mean, they have to be completely immersed and steeped in Trump derangement syndrome not to see the travesty of what is going on at the border. And it's really bad. And he put out a statement yesterday. He put out a news release about what's going on, and he said that they're setting it up for crimes against humanity. And I think that's key because this story is not over, and I think that the language that he's using and the exposure that he is putting on this, and the spotlight that he's shining on the situation is going to come back to bite them, because that's a pretty strong word, crimes against humanity, and that is a word that you use in human rights courts. It's not a throwaway concept or comment. And so, I know that there are people who are still blind. There are people who still think that a designer virus was the reason to shut down the whole world. I get that. But I also think that a lot of people are having buyer's remorse about who they voted for. We can't wake them all up. We can't wake them all up at once. But one thing that is not really being talked about, and I wanted to share it with you. I shared it on my Telegram, and that is the story of what is coming into Arizona. And I've known about this for a while. I know that Ann Vandersteel has been very aware of it, and she's reported on it on Steel Truth. and she has a lot of inside information about it, but it's something called Skybridge, and this is basically a port of entry that is being built between the Mexican border and Arizona. And it's a customs port. It's a customs gateway, and it is really nothing more than a legally sanctioned avenue for drug trafficking and money laundering. And it's a big problem. I remember when I was in Arizona working on the Dilly campaign, I met a woman named Edna San Miguel, and she was talking about this. She was telling me about it at the time. And she's a woman who has fought pretty courageously and has been canceled even before we knew that word. And so this is something that you're going to want to be aware of and stay abreast of. You can follow him. Garrett Ziegler is going to be training on it. Um, I don't know what names you guys are putting on my Facebook. Joe Ellinger, Rebecca Mara, Jordan Elliott. I don't know what that is. Okay. So this is something you're going to want to be aware of. The person that's posting this and is doing the most education on it is Garrett Ziegler. Garrett Ziegler, Ziegler. I wonder if he is related to Zig Ziglar. Is he the grandson maybe of Zig Ziglar, the great sales icon? Um, so, oh, okay. Thank you, Carol. I was like, what are all these names? So, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Um, that's so awesome. Okay. It doesn't show up in my chat as a tag. It's just random names. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. We're just naming names. So anyway, so Garrett Ziegler, make sure you're following him on Telegram. He was a White House staffer, and he was working in policy with the president. And so he's somebody that is trustworthy, that you can follow. He's a Zoomer. I think he's maybe 30, and his wife is about to have a baby. He seems like a really, really good guy. Yeah, so follow him, get that information from him, and just make sure that you're staying abreast of that situation. This is something that you're going to want to be active about. You're going to want to write to the senators. You're going to want to burn up Doug Ducey's phone. Of course, he is one of the people that's benefiting from this. I think you probably have figured out by now that Doug Ducey is one of the big people that is central to the Arizona mafia. He's just another branch of the McCain and Romney cartel that runs things out there in that part of the country. So don't have any illusions about that. Doug Ducey is he's a pretend conservative, pretend Catholic, kind of a disgrace to our party. So there's that. And so he's definitely been paid off and probably owned and blackmailed. Uh, so um, that's what's going on out there. Yeah, his name is Roscoe. That's right. Thank you, Anne. Yeah, you're out in Arizona, so you probably know a lot more about this than I do. But I wanted to go back to something that the president said and something that I talked about the other day, because this has been a topic that has been coming up repeatedly, and uh, um, that um, about the shot. Let me just say one thing about the let me just say one thing about the border. It's probably not lost on you, but it's probably lost on the blind sheep. So we have states and cities that are still not open because of the danger of COVID, right? And yet the president, the resident in chief, just opened the entire border to people that are sick, are carrying all kinds of disease, not just a virus. And yet that somehow just goes in the memory hole and nobody's talking about it. But, the president has an event and it's a super spreader event. Does anybody else think that's just the height of hypocrisy? Uh, it's crazy, just insane, right? And yet, in my town, let me just explain something. The city schools where I live, hey, Mary Winkard, I was just talking about your town. Okay, the city schools have just started doing in person instruction for children grades K through 6, maybe K through 7. Just started a year into this shamdemic. And yet, and they don't even have a plan for the high school. The high schoolers are still doing remote learning, and some of them have never logged into their Chromebooks since last March. So you have kids who have fallen through the cracks for a year, but it's all Trump's fault because kids at the border, right? They just opened the floodgates. Yeah. Um, yeah, just insane. It's just complete insanity. Yeah, these kids, I mean, they're completely falling through the cracks. But, it just it really I told you last year that what they're doing and what they started with Hussein, they didn't really start it with him. They actually just put him in place to accelerate it, but it's the 16-year plan to destroy America. That is what they really accelerated by installing Hussein in the White House. And at that time, it was subtle. It was under the radar. They were just pretending to play nice, and they were just subtly transforming. Because remember, he said that they were going to fundamentally transform America. And they were doing it, now we find out, in ways that were utterly and totally damaging to America. So now that they put the resident in chief up there in Washington, they're not even pretending anymore. They're not even trying to slow this thing down. They're not pretending to care about our kids. They're not pretending to care about your business. They're not pretending that they're even two parties anymore. President Trump has taken control of the Republican Party, and he's completely cleaning house, and he's put them all on notice because he's exposed the complete and total breakdown of our system. It's not a breakdown, it was intentional. But what they're doing is trying to they're trying to accelerate the fundamental transformation of America into a third world shithole. That's not my expression, it's the president's, but that's what they're trying to do. They want you dependent, they want you sick, they want you fat, they want you depressed, they want you suicidal, they want you dead. That's their agenda for America. And if you're not chattel and fodder for their pet projects and for their money laundering that's lining their pockets, then you are useless. That's just the bottom line. And so people need to understand this. But, okay, this is where I don't want to go down that dark hole because I believe that we're on the verge of turning this around. And I want to caution you from agreeing with that agenda because that's not God's agenda. That's not our agenda for America. You know that. And so the title of my broadcast today is Whose Report? Because the stories that we know from the Bible, from the Old Testament, are, we've seen story after story after story of situations, of impossible situations, where the Lord brings people out of sudden calamity or certain calamity. And, one of those stories is when the Israelites are on the verge of going into the promised land, and the 12 spies go into the land. They go over, they look, 10 of them see see certain calamity for the Israelites. Only two of them come back and say, "It's awesome, we're gonna win. It's all there for us. It's the land of milk and honey," right? Except 10 of them come back and they're like, "We're doomed. That's it. We're all gonna die." And so I've noticed lately that when we look at what's going on, when we look at what's going on in America right now and in the world, we're hearing a lot of bad reports. And I'm seeing, I'm hearing conversations. I'm getting sent some videos and podcasts and articles and things that in some cases are quite alarming. And I'm getting a sense from some people that you guys are very alarmed and very concerned about the future. And I've been I'm very selective, first of all, about what I read and what I watch because I don't want to take those things into my soul. I already know a lot of it. And so I choose to be, and Holy Spirit directs me to be extremely careful about what it is that I put in here. Is Todd here? Where's Todd? Somebody just said Todd. Is my wingman here? Okay, squirrel. But what I was going to say is um, that I want to be very careful. I'm very careful about what I listen to, what I take in. There's a fine line between getting information and embracing it and reporting on it and delivering a bad report. Okay. I want to, I'm serious about this. I am not, I don't have my head in the sand at all. I understand the agenda. I'm very, I'm a voracious reader. I consume information all the time. Uh, I don't need to, I don't need to ingest it all. I just have, I don't know. So when you guys send me stuff, sometimes I already know it. So I'm just telling you, that's just an ability that I've been given is to be able to look at something and size it up and figure out what's going on. But, I've also been aware of a lot of things for years. And where am I going with this? It is important and it is vital. And I want to encourage you to be extremely intentional and mindful about what it is that you're consuming, what you're sharing, what you're repeating, because I think that oh yeah, we'll come back to that, Anne. Okay, so I think that it's important for those of us who who have a biblical perspective to really practice discernment and also to practice bringing a good report. This is important because I believe and I know that as a nation, as a world, we are on the verge of the biggest breakthroughs really in modern society. And I know that. I know that the story is not over. I know that the president is. I know that the president um, is coming back, and I know that it's not over. I also recognize and acknowledge that it's very difficult, that there are some extremely hard truths that people are getting and are ingesting, and many of you for the first time. There's information coming out that maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't really understand the extent or the fullness of what was actually going on. For example, with the agenda behind the shots, all of the mass administration of all of that over the years. That's something that I've pretty well understood and been dialed into. And so I want to caution you because as you're ingesting information, some of you are brand new to this fight. Some of you are brand new to certain aspects of the fight. Some of you are just waking up to certain topics. And so I just want to really give you a word of wisdom and a word of admonishment in a way to really guard your heart, guard your soul, Cleanse your soul from the things that want to steal your joy, that want to get you in a place of negativity. Cleanse your soul from the things that are wanting to drag you into that place of despair. Because we are not a people of despair. We are not a people of uh, a bad report, because we believe the good report of the Lord, and that is that God wins, and He's winning bigly. And I understand that in some ways it doesn't seem like that, because sometimes the things that our eyes see look like giants in the land. It looks like, you see the giant grasshoppers and you're like, holy cow, we're done for. Okay. And a big example of that is what is going on with this particular agenda of administering the shots. And I don't understand completely the president's stance on it, but I do know that there's something else going on as far as he's concerned, I'm pretty sure. But let's go back to the reports that I'm getting. People are sending me reports. In particular, there's a doctor whose last name is, I think, Tenpenny, and she goes into great detail about this whole agenda and how these things are designed and the damage that they can do long term to people. And so I understand that there is a wicked and evil agenda afoot, and I get that the science and the doctors who have examined this are giving you information that is factual. I'm not dismissing that. I'm not downplaying what it is that you're finding out. What it is that I really want you to understand is that uh, we have to choose. We're in a position to choose whose report will you believe. And let me put it to you this way. Let me put it to you this way. Don't mourn President Trump. He's not gone. Let me put it to you this way. History, common sense. Thank you, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny is her name. Okay. Common sense, the day to day secular thought, humanist thought tells us that, when an expert gives us information, that we take that information and we make decisions based on that information. And for the most part, that's a pretty reasonable expectation of behavior. For example, and this is something that we've been trained to do outside of supernatural living, outside of understanding the mind of Christ. And this is where the key is. We have the mind of Christ as Christians. And so we have to be very careful about thinking with the mind of the world. And so I'm going to give you an example. When you have an esteemed expert who brings you a report based on their research, and they tell you fact A, fact B, fact C, fact D, we're doomed. Those are facts. It seems really bad. However, we have a God who is so much bigger than facts. And we have seen this throughout history, time and time and time again. And that is why the scripture says, whose report will you believe? I will believe the report of the Lord, because God is bigger than the report of even the best expert on the planet. And I've heard stories of people who have been diagnosed with pretty bad conditions, and a lot of the outcome. I've heard so many stories like this, um, that your belief and what you do with the information that's given to you makes all the difference. And I'll give you an example of this. I've heard stories of people who have been told that they have a diagnosis and the doctor says you have this long to live. Get your affairs in order. There's usually one of two things that happens. One is They embrace that diagnosis, and the family embraces it, and everybody just gathers around and says, "This is it. I'm done." Another story that isn't told as much is the story of the person or the family who says, "We reject that report. You're the doctor. I understand that's your job, but you don't get to declare life or death over me or my loved one." And we are in a position right now as believers collectively to be able to say to a scientist, and I'm not doubting whether someone is a believer. I am not casting doubt on that. I am talking to you individually. You have you have the ability, you have the responsibility to say, I will not receive that. I reject that. I choose to believe the report of the Lord, which is life. And this is an important concept, everybody. I really want you to understand that. This is not rejecting the doctor. So don't hear that. I am certain. I understand that this person, Dr. Tenpenny, I am not criticizing her at all. She has the information. She has the facts. It's up to you to decide what you're going to do with that information. So let's just be very clear about that. I don't want anybody to come back. I don't want to see anybody, all over the internet saying Mary Grace said that doctor, is not godly, or that, she doesn't know what she's talking about, blah blah blah. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you that you have a choice. You have the ability to either accept that report, what your eyes see, there's giants in the land, oh no, we're doomed, or to receive and declare the report of the Lord. And that report is, the devil came to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus said, I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. And so, I really want you to be clear on that. I'm looking at a comment on Facebook. A diagnosis can be like a curse, rebuke it, and declare life. This is so important to understand. It's so important because your mind can play terrible tricks on you. And when your mind starts to agree with this diagnosis, and I'm talking about right now, there is a diagnosis that's being spoken over our country and over the world around this particular shot. And I want to challenge you not to receive that, and in fact, to rebuke it, because that is not God's will for our country and for the future of mankind. God is the one who makes your DNA. God is the one who knit you together in your mother's womb. Scientists have figured out crazy things to do with genetics, but they don't get to declare your future. God does that. Delia has made a great point. It happens with misdiagnosis of babies in utero. This is a really important point. And just remember, the devil has come to steal, kill, and destroy. I have heard countless stories of parents who have been given a diagnosis of a baby, and the doctors say, this child is going to have X, Y, or Z. Our advice is that you abort this child. Has anybody ever heard a story like that? Yes, we've heard those stories. And then the parents say, thank you for your opinion. I choose to believe the report of the Lord, and I choose life for my baby. And the baby is born. And so many times we hear the story that the baby is absolutely perfect. God knows your days. It is God who numbers your days. And I'm getting concerned when I see people who are really going down the rabbit hole with this diagnosis over America and the world based on the science behind this shot. I'm concerned because I feel like People are agreeing. People are agreeing with that report, and they're forgetting, Christians specifically, you're forgetting the report of the Lord. And so I just wanted to challenge you to speak life over this country and to reject that death sentence, to reject the alteration of DNA or whatever it is that this thing is supposed to do. Reject that, reject the mind control, and declare life over your loved ones, over America, over the world at large. Anybody that is in danger of receiving that particular uh, shot. Okay, so I just want to be very clear about that because it, in my opinion, what I have seen in the last few weeks since this information is coming out, it looks to me like the devil is actually getting people in bondage. And these are people who have spent the last year resisting the fear of the virus. Suddenly, the same people who have stood strong against the designer virus and resisted the fear are now in a position of agreeing with this diagnosis over our country. I'm going to call it a diagnosis because it's a prognostication. They're prognosticating, and they are saying, based on the facts that we have, we are giving this is the prognosis. This is the long-term outcome over people, over humanity. And I am just urging you to reject that. Reject it outright, because that is not God's will for people. And we have case after case after case of examples of people being able to resist that and rebuking the devil, because that is a demonic agenda for humanity. Do you see that? I hope this is encouraging to you, because you are not under anyone's agenda unless you agree to it. Let me know in the chat how this is resonating with you. Okay, so one thing that I wanted to say, one of the things that Scripture says is, is the is the is the Lord's arm too short, so short that it cannot save? And I was thinking about that. That's something that the Lord reminded me of, and I was reading, um, in Isaiah 53. I want to pull it up here because I was reading that, and the coolest thing about this is that I'm not saying to pretend it's not harmless. I'm not saying to bury your head in the sand. I'm saying reject it. Completely reject it. Reject the power that it might have over you. Just like you would reject a diagnosis of death or sickness or, disability, whatever. Reject it. Reject it. That's not God's will for you. Okay? So let me just read this to you. This is Isaiah 53. This is the scripture that the Lord used actually to prophesy the Messiah. A lot of Jews, when they really understand the depth of this scripture, they actually come to Christ. So this is what it says. I'm going to read the very beginning. It says, "Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" And then it goes into the whole prophecy about Jesus. "For he grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of parched ground. He has no stately form or majesty that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should be attracted to him. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And like one from whom men hide their face, he was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried. Yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was pierced through for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The chastening of our well-being fell upon him, and by his scourging we are healed. This is so important to understand, you guys, because everybody's forgetting this. Is the arm of the Lord so short that it cannot save? This scripture begins with, go back to the beginning. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? The arm of the Lord is revealed to you and to me. It is the saving message of the Messiah right there in Isaiah 53. By his stripes, by his scourging, which is really horrible if you've ever seen the Passion of the Christ, if you understand what it is that he endured for you. By his stripes we are healed. What happened between last year and now? Did he suddenly stop being able to heal you and protect you from all your diseases? You resisted the virus. Don't let this thing, don't let the fear of this shot get you into a place where you forget who it is that went to the cross for you. That you forget the saving power of his blood. Because it's right here in the Word of God. And it's already done. By his stripes you have been healed. That's in, I think, 1 Peter. So he is the healer. Do not believe the report about the virus or the cure. The cure. Yeah, I reject the word of the world. I believe the word of Jehovah. Yeah. And the thing is, he is the healer, and his word and his healing, it's true for today, not just then. Some people think that it doesn't work anymore, that the miracles died with the apostles. That's not true. So I just wanted to remind you of that, because this is, the world is watching, and everybody's watching you. So people are watching you, and they're watching how you're responding to this. So are you going to give in to fear right now, a year in, when you resisted this thing this long? Or are you going to bring a good report? Question on YouTube. So are you saying we should take the shot? I don't know where you're getting that. No, that's not necessarily what I'm saying. I'm saying you make your own decision. Some people are in a position where they're being forced. I'm saying as believers, decide your stance on this. Because are you afraid, and are you spreading that fear with your attitude and with the things that you're saying and the things that you're agreeing with? Does that make sense? Hopefully that helps to clarify that. Yeah, I am in no way saying to take it. No, I'm not choosing to. Some people are in a position where they have to, though, and I understand that, and I'm not judging you. Kat Kerr and many other prophets have said that God is protecting those people, that the effects of it are not going to stay with people who are in that position. Some people are taking it innocently. They don't understand the truth of it. Okay. So just be very careful, especially, we all have family members who have probably taken it because they think it's better for them. They really believe. And so, I'm just encouraging you to reject the death sentence or the permanent DNA alteration, or whatever diagnosis or prognosis comes with it, and just declare and really speak life over those people, um, over your friends and family members. So, that's my report on that. And so, yeah, do not walk in fear. Uh, yeah, don't walk in fear. Yeah, a lot of us, we have family members who have gotten it. I have family members who have gotten the shot, and they're happy. They're joyful. They're thankful that they get to go out now, albeit they're going to still wear like triple masks, but there's a deception. Um so and I am not saying by any means whatsoever to remain silent about telling the truth. What I am saying is take authority over the diagnosis, the prognosis, the pronouncement of doom that comes with this particular thing, and just say no, just like we did with the virus. Just no, we reject this. Because you remember it was a year ago when they were saying 2.2 million people are going to die. Do you remember that? Do you remember being on prayer calls and Zooms with people who were saying, we reject that? We reject it. President Trump rejected that also. That is why so many people were saved. I still happen to believe, going back to that, uh, going back to that, to President Trump, he said something today. He said something today on the podcast. I think it was either that or Harris Faulkner, one of the interviews. He said, I thought Barley was here. He said, he said something very interesting. He said that, he was the one who got this shot with, he got the FDA to stop dragging their feet. He got it moving. And then he said something very interesting. He said, we managed to save tens of millions of people with this thing. And I've been thinking about that all day because I want you to go with me somewhere for just a minute. Think about this. And you might have to go listen to it to get the nuance of what he was saying. I told you my last show that I really thought that there was something going on last year, January, February, that prompted the president to deploy the military and to deploy military hospitals all over the country. I thought there was something bigger and more sinister and much more deadly afoot than the virus. And that his decisions and the things that he did and putting these things in place saved millions of people, more than the millions that were projected by the prophets of doom over our country. I still believe that. I don't have a fact about it. I don't have intel about this, but I said the other day I have a hunch. I get these Holy Spirit hunches, and I really think that there was something bigger. And it was very interesting today because then when he was talking about the shot, he said we saved tens of millions of people. And so there are a lot of people who believe that that Operation Warp Speed was something much bigger than hey Michelle, that Operation Warp Speed was something bigger than the actual rollout and development of the shot. And I tend to believe that. And so when he says, it was just interesting. And does anybody remember, was it on the podcast or was it on Harris Faulkner? I was multitasking, but I think that what when he said we have already saved tens of millions of people, I just thought that was really interesting because the original threat of the virus was not tens of millions in America. It was like 2.2 million. Okay. And then remember, and he also referenced the swine flu. Was that in 1917 or 1918 that killed millions and millions of people? So there was something. I really hope one day I find out. I'm just going to ask God to reveal this to me in a dream, or maybe I can have a conversation with President Trump and just ask him outright. Do you think he would come on my show? President Trump, would you come on my show and let me interview you? Because I want to ask you that. It's probably classified information, but I think that I think there is something. There was something that happened, something really big. Again, and I talked about this last year when he was deploying all of those field hospitals. I said there's a military operation happening. It's happening right under people's noses, and the president is saving the country from something way bigger than the Wu flu. That's what I think was going on. Okay, so I just yeah, I'm inviting him right now. President Trump, please come on my show and let me interview you. You can call in, but it would be better to have you on video. So yeah, he knows a lot. He knows a lot more than we do, and he still has access to all of this information, and I believe he's coming back. So I just want you to take heart. I want you to be encouraged because we really are on the verge of the biggest breakthrough I think in modern history, if not all of history. I think that it's just um, yeah, I think that it's going to be, I think it's going to be just amazing. Are we going to have to, are we going to have to be witnessing a little more of the damage first? I think so, but just hold on. You really need to hold the line. I'm really encouraged. I really am. And yeah, somebody just said, "You're a great interview. I had a dream you interviewed our president." Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, Susan, that would be great. Uh, so, think George News always talking about how we have the key and Trump saying the shot is the key. That's interesting, Julia. When did he say it was the key? I don't know if I remember those exact words. Uh, yeah, I would like to have the president on my show. That would be so great. Okay, yeah. See, don't aren't you guys feeling like there's way more? Because he came out and said it. If you really listen to what the president says, he said a year ago, he said he said I guess you'd say I'm a wartime president. Do you remember that? Do you remember? And he talked about the silent enemy, um the invisible enemy, sorry, the invisible enemy. I think that if you go back, if you can handle it, somebody go back and listen to all of his coronavirus briefings. I think that it would be incredibly enlightening. I think that in retrospect, you would pick up a lot of you would pick up a lot of comms from him that we didn't even pick up at the time. Seeing what we see now, wouldn't that be interesting? Who has time to do that? Who wants to volunteer? Oh my goodness, can you imagine? But, I just, yeah, I really want to encourage you to stay in a place of positivity. And there are a couple of people that I've been listening to that have been really helping me with that. Uh, one is the Lord, and the other one is, that I want to encourage you to listen to worship music and sing and be joyful. And then um, also, I've been listening lately to Amanda Grace. For the longest time, I just couldn't get into her. She's a prophet. I started listening to her, and she's very encouraging. I've also been listening to Johnny Enlow. I've been listening to Elijah Streams. I really want to give a shout out to Steve Schultz for bringing the people on Elijah Streams. A lot of these are the prophets who have been saying from the start that this is not over and that God is victorious and the president is coming back. And these people are sort of like voices in the wilderness, but they're not backing down because God is not telling them no. Hank Kunneman is another one. So the people that, do you guys hear barley? Barley. The people that are standing on that, Steve Schultz is actually having them on Elijah Streams, which is a YouTube channel. So, yeah, Praying Medic, Julie Lavender, um, uh, uh, Andrea Joy, um, Greg Harvey. There's so much positivity out there, and so again, it's important to have facts and information, but never let those things get on a pedestal above the power of Almighty God, because God wins. We know He wins. So let's not allow the devil to get into your head and lie to you. Don't do that. Um, just don't let him have even the last word at all. It's Kat Kerr, Kerr. Okay, I wanted to tell you guys, speaking of uh, the Barley Show. Yeah. Dave Scarlett, His Glory. Thank you so much. Amanda Grace was with him the other day. They're going to be down in Tulsa the second weekend of April, the 16th, 17th, 18th. I'm going to be there, you guys. I'm going to be there. And I am really excited. I'll let you guys know more about that as it comes. I got invited to go, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this. But I wanted to tell you guys that that Ann Vandersteel sent me this amazing mug from her Steel Truth show. If you don't watch Steel Truth, Anne does a good job of bringing the news and great interviews 5 days a week at 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can go to her website, steeltruth.com. They sent me this mug, and they are down at the border right now. She and producer Liz are at the border, and they are doing, they're going to be doing some reporting, some of it, uh, you know, off the record, I guess, if you want to say. But the main thing is, I wanted to ask you guys really just to keep them covered in prayer. I know a lot of their listeners are doing that already, but this is a really critical time because the real reporters and the real journalists are uncovering the real stories down there. Project Veritas was down there. They did an expose on the detention centers. And so, we really want to make sure that we keep them in prayer. All of the brave patriots and the people that are and the whistleblowers, um, make sure that you are just keeping them in prayer because they're taking a lot of risks, and so just keep that in mind. Joanne, I can't disclose where they are. They're like I said, a little bit off the grid, but they are going to be doing reporting from there. I don't know exactly whether it's going to be live. And okay, Michelle is telling us that Ben Berkholm is also there for Real America's Voice. Thank you. So if you go on Rav TV, Real America's Voice.tv, I think that's their website, isn't it? And he's also on Facebook. Don't ask me to spell his name, but Ben has been going to the border for a long time, even in the early days of the Trump administration and before that. So he's intrepid. He actually, I think he's one of the. Didn't he climb over the wall at Nancy Pelosi's mansion, Michelle? He did a lot of reporting also on January 6th and during all of the Stop the Steal events up in DC. So he's one of their field reporters. He's very good. Um, oh, that's okay, Joanne. No biggie. But yeah. We're the truth is coming out. Let's just pray that more people get awakened. Um, yeah, he climbed her wall with Laura Loomer. That's the funniest thing. Okay, so let's see. Let me look at my notes here. How's the sound today, by the way? Nobody has complained, so I guess it's good. I'm getting the hang of this. Um, I did a little work on the studio. Did you notice over the weekend? Where's my thing? See? It's not done, but it's coming along. I like it so much better than the white walls. Wouldn't want to get banned. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the sound is good. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to tell you, first of all, do you guys remember when I told you about the stem cell injection that I had? So I wanted to report on that because I'm so excited. It's starting to heal. It's amazing. I could just talk about this all day, but it's regenerative medicine. The cells are growing, and so the pain is getting less and less, and I'm very excited about that. I was told that I would need surgery and that it would never really get better. I didn't believe that report. Um, I'm color coordinated with the walls. I kind of am today, yeah. So it's going to be interesting when I wear like red. Somebody just asked me if I had new hair highlights. I actually don't have um, highlights, guys. I've been taking the hair, skin, and nail from our superfoods line. I got to tell you, this is like I'm like 2 weeks in, and I've been remembering to take it every day. I'm really seeing a difference. Hair, skin, and nails, amazing. Um, let's see. Nicole is looking into stem cell treatments for cervical instability instead of fusion. Nicole, I can tell you a great place to go where I got mine. So you can message me if you don't already have a location. There's definitely some things to look out for when it comes to stem cells. Okay, Bill, um, I think you might need some more education on that because there is no way ever that I would get any treatment from I think maybe you're referring to aborted babies. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah, it works for bone on bone, Tina. Um yeah, there's a lot of miseducation out there about stem cells. So that's not what I got, Bill. Don't worry. I would never do that. I talked about it on another show. Um so if you go to Signature Biologics and look at their information about how they get their stem cells, you'll get a lot more information. That's the best way I can explain it to you, Bill, because there if you know me, there's no way I would ever do that, ever. So, yeah, I'm talking about stem cells. So, just go to signaturebiologics.com. That's where the cells that I'm using that I got are sourced from. That's a good question. I mean, a lot of people have that misconception. So, but I wanted to tell you too, yeah, PRP is getting your own platelets. I'm getting PRP in like a week and a half, but they started with amniocytes in this place. I had a tear, a torn tendon. I should show you guys the ultrasound. I'll try to do that. I'm not going to do it today though. Bone on bone. Yeah, Joyce, for a lot of people it does. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I have a client who does it in Virginia. Pretty phenomenal. And it depends on the person, so that's why, like, you do an evaluation, but you do need to be very careful. You need to be very careful about where you get stem cells and who, if you go to a doctor, you have to know where they're getting their stem cells from, where they're sourcing them. That's really important to know. Um, so so just be aware of that. Uh, you're welcome. It's pretty amazing. Okay, but I wanted to tell you too, speaking of amazing, it's springtime. And so we are, as usual, springing into wellness. And we are doing, a lot of people are getting started on a superfoods reset. And so, can you guys hear the noise that Barley is making in the other room? Do you hear that? He's playing and he's throwing his toys around. I don't know if you hear it. He's trying to turn this into the Barley show. I can hear it. It's very loud. He's right in the next room. He's like crashing around in there. It's the funniest cat. But, okay, good. But what I was gonna tell you about the shakes is that, that, I'm super picky, and, part of our superfoods is shakes. You really need to get the information from me because what we have is so unique and special. There's no way I can explain it in 5 minutes on my show. It's transformative and it's regenerative. I love it so much. It's really changed my life. It's changed a lot of people's lives. And, the amazing thing about it is it's affordable. It's one of the best values that you can put into your body. And, and so, so just give it a shot. Send me an not that shot, okay. Send me a, send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, and I'll give you some information, and then you can decide. So one thing I will tell you is that I'm super picky, and I have never been a smoothie person. I don't like smoothies. I don't like blended things. I've tried like all like protein shakes. I've tried everything. When I got the superfoods, I was a little bit reluctant, and I was like, if I don't like it, I'm returning it. I love it. I've been using them for 2 years. It's completely changed my life. So, so if you're that person and you think that, like, if you get weirded out by stuff by that like that, you might wanna try this because it's really good, and it's living food. And so, I just I hear testimonials from people all the time. And so, it's just it's really life-changing. So info@marygracemedia.com. We have live coaching this Wednesday night at 8, and then we have another live coaching call next Wednesday night. But when you sign up under me to get these when you use my coupon code, I forgot to tell you about the coupon code. The coupon code saves you over $100 off of your full month of your transformation reset. So that's pretty cool. And if you do the transformation, or even if you're thinking about it, if you're just thinking about it and you're not sure, come on the coaching call this Wednesday night. We don't record those, but you can come and find out more. So if you're still thinking about it, you can come and just watch um and try, and if you have any questions, you can ask. So that's good. And then um, what else? Get your voucher, get your coupon code from me, info@marygracemedia.com. And it is shelf stable. Stacy on YouTube. It's actually shelf stable. So you can I don't think it's 10 years. It's I don't think it's that long, but it'll get you through a crisis, that's for sure. I always stock up. I think it's like 2 or 3 years shelf stable. But the cool thing is that the way that this is processed, it's living food. It's amazing. It really is. You have to experience it. Do you have to download Zoom on your phone? No, I think there's like a call-in number when you get the Zoom link, and you can just call in. Uh, yeah. So, is it 2 years, Linda? Yeah. So about 2 years. Yeah, so we're on a mission to make America healthy again. 10 years of age. Oh, I think I missed your question. Oh, is it all right? I'm sorry, for over 10. Hold on. For 10 years of age? Yeah. Yeah. There's products for kids. We actually also have products for dogs. Um I gave superfoods to my cat. Some of you know that because he was dying. And we have juices. We have dehydrated juices that are living food. Michelle's boys absolutely love it. Yeah, my cat was really sick, so I gave him what we have something called cocoa hydrate. It's electrolytes. I gave it to him by dropper when he was like flat like a pancake. You guys remember that when I brought him on camera and he was like, and he just got so sick. And then the next day when he finally so I gave him the dropper with the electrolytes all night long. And then the next day when he finally came around, I started giving him superfoods mixed with his food. And Now you wouldn't know that he was ever sick because he's big and energetic and bouncing around and playing in the kitchen right now and having a great time. So it really helped him. But okay, so guys, I'll be back tomorrow. It's getting a little bit late. I'll be back tomorrow at 5:30 Eastern. I do have to go. Go to my website, marygracemedia.com. If you want to support the show, there's a support link there. If you buy superfoods, it does, I do get a commission from that, full disclosure. And it's win-win because you're going to love it and it's going to be life-changing. So info at marygracemedia.com. I'll be back. Uh, tomorrow. I hope everybody has a great evening. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you to all the moderators and all of the chat.